planted some Aquilegia. And chives. And two lovely apple trees into the wild garden. The alliums are coming out. The oxeye daisies and the bird's foot trefoil are pricked out and in 6 packs, and in a couple of weeks time, when they're really well rooted, we'll put those into the wild garden as well, and maybe a couple of other places around the site. A lot of things are coming outside because it's getting too warm in the glass houses, and they're hardened off fairly well. Some of the nasturtiums, the helianthus, which is the, God, that name slips me, it's sunflowers. Some of the other bits and pieces around here are outside. So this is the second lot of courgettes, and it's pricked them out, as you can see there, nicely into the pots. Everything is growing like crazy. Beautiful dahlias, seedlings, gladioli, more types of iris. Everything is all ready to go up on the grounds when you guys come back. You're going to be busy planting. We need to make up for lost time. These are the salvia patens. The tomatoes will be going in maybe the week after next. Some of the lovely geraniums, the ones that were cut back have come on. The other ones over here are looking great. We need to do a little bit more deadheading and spread them out to give them a bit more space. We moved all the rooted cuttings down onto the capillary beds at the back. And this is more stuff that Anne has sown. Little things, brassicas, cosmos, chard, lettuce, nasturtiums, more moneymaker tomatoes, peppers, sweet basil. This is something Anna started, hasn't come on yet. It's more sunflowers. Sardines, smelly tinned sardines. Ferdy loves them. Kind of decided Ferdy doesn't look very well, has mange, and I rang a helpline to find out what I could do, and they said that we could give them a tablet. I got it from the vet, and the tablet will help cure them of the mange, but will also help dogs around the area because mange is quite contagious. So Ferdy's getting tasty. I said sardines, actually mackerel. And after about 4 days of feeding, once I know he's eating or she's eating every day, not sure whether it's a he or a she, once we know that she's eating for 3 or 4 days, I'll try and push a tablet into the middle. And it's one tablet, one treatment, and that will, if she eats it or he eats it, be guaranteed to cure him or her of mange. It's the 21st of April, and April is the time for spreading fertilizer or weed feed and mosskiller on a lawn. So I'm going to put down some Renovator Pro, which is a feed, a weed killer of broadleaf weeds in lawns, and it's also has iron in it. So I'm going to use 2 spreaders. I'm going to use the broadcast spreader, which is this one here, and I'm also going to use the drop spreader. The broadcast spreader does exactly what it suggests. It throws the fertilizer out by broadcasting, which means throws it out this way and out that way, either side of the spreader itself. And you can adjust the width that it throws. You can adjust the amount of fertilizer that it throws. This drop spreader, you can adjust the amount of fertilizer that it drops over the ground, but you can only drop below the spreader, hence the name drop spreader. It drops the fertilizer out through holes in the bottom, and it will only do a width of this much at a time, and that's handy for accuracy and for a very large or for a very small lawn. But with a large area such as the football pitch we're going to go up to now, the small five-a-side football pitch, you probably need something a little bit more efficient, and that's where the broadcast spreader comes into its own, because it spreads over a larger area more quickly. I'm going to use a weed feed and moss killer, and it's called Sportsmaster Renovator Pro. Renovator Pro is a fertilizer that has weed killer as well, and it's got it has added iron. So the fertilizer will make the grass grow quicker. The iron will kill off the moss, but it will also make the grass green without making it grow. That sounds complicated, and this is quite commonly done on golf courses or on sports surfaces, maybe a day or two before a football match or a golf tournament, that they apply iron to the lawn to make it go green, but not necessarily to make it grow faster. So you've got the feed, you've got the weed killer, which will kill broadleaf weeds but not kill the grass, and you've also got iron, which is going to kill the moss. It will burn off and dry up some of the thatch. It will also have some effect on burning the broadleaf weeds, but it will also make the grass greener pretty much overnight. So here we are up at the pitch. As you can see, there's quite a few weeds within the pitch. I've just cut the grass, so ideally with a normal garden lawn, you should leave the grass maybe 3 days after cutting before you apply a weed and feed. In sports, this doesn't really happen with an area that needs to be cut quite often. And in sports, of course, you probably wouldn't see that many weeds in this lawn. But of course, we're just developing this pitch, so we've got quite a few daisies coming up. We've got quite a few other things like dandelions. And what we want to do, first of all, is to measure the size of the area so we can work out how much fertilizer to put out. So I do that by roughly working out the square meterage of this. And the way to do that is to measure the length and the width and multiply one by the other. So what I did was I measured the area between the goalposts and then the width from that tree across to the shrubbery over there. And this doesn't have to be extremely accurate. Obviously there's in areas and out areas, but a good average is good enough for this. And it's 22 meters long by 13 meters wide. So 22 multiplied by 13 is 286 square meters. I'm going to call it 280 square meters. So the next thing you do is you have to work out how much fertilizer is needed for that 280 square meters. I'm spreading this at 35 grams per square meter, and we're calling it 280 just to round it down, and we multiply that by 35 grams. So the way to do that is two possible different ways. Multiplied by 0.035 or you can
add 3 zeros to the 280 square metres, so that would be 28,000 square centimetres, possibly, whatever, anyway.
The long and the short of it is, it's 9.8 kilograms to be spread on this area. So I've measured out 9.8 kilograms and I've divided it between the two machines. I could probably get away with using the broadcast spreader and just be careful about where it goes. Incidentally, that's an important thing to note. You notice that there's shrubs and perennials and various different plants all around me. We don't want this weed feed and moss killer to be thrown into those beds. It could damage the shrubs, it could kill the perennials, it could kill unintended plants if that happens. All we want to kill is the weeds on the lawn, and we want to fertilise the lawn, and we want to kill the moss on the lawn. So that's what I need to do between these two different areas. I'm going to show you first of all how I use the drop spreader. So as already mentioned, with the drop spreader it will just drop down here underneath, and I've got about 2.5 kilograms approximately, which I'm going to spread around the edges, and that will stop me from throwing with the broadcast spreader fertilizer into the shrub and perennial beds, the ornament. And what I do is I squeeze this as I start to walk, this lever, and what it does is that opens the holes at the bottom of the spreader. But I don't squeeze it until I've started walking, and then I let go of it as I stop. If I hold this in on one spot, I'm going to get I suppose a glut of fertilizer in one spot underneath, and that will burn the grass. So how I do it is walk and let it go. So I've gone around the outside twice with the drop spreader. I've got some fertilizer left in it, and what I'm going to do is transfer that into the broadcast spreader. So the same as with the drop spreader, I need to turn this lever on as I start walking and then turn it off as I stop. So that would be like this. When you're finished fertilizing, it's a good idea to clean out these spreaders. I'm going to use a jet like this. Fertilizer can be really corrosive to metal in particular, not to plastic, but some of the parts on this more expensive machine are aluminium or alloy of some sort, I suppose, because they don't corrode, but fertilizer definitely corrodes metal parts. This particular machine is about 20 years old and it's been used quite a bit, but because it's good quality and because we wash it quite regularly, it hasn't corroded quite as much as it would. So I'm going to clean these down with the hose and then maybe give them a bit of a dry with the blower. Probably a good idea to use the blower for just basically to dry off and blow off some of the particles that might be left on it. And I'm cleaning the hopper, which is this part here, and then also the foil, which is the thing that throws the fertilizer. So the idea is to remove as much residual fertilizer as possible. Anything that could corrode or at least contaminate the next time you use, if you were just using fertilizer, and if there was some of this weed feed and moss killer left, you could contaminate whatever you're going to use. And that's really it. Put them away in the shed and that's the job done. Today is the 28th of April. I applied weed killer on the 21st or the 22nd, we'll check the video, to the football pitch, and I think you can see in the video that it's looking a lot better already overall. But if we get down close, we'll see what's happening. So the grass is looking greener. The weeds, such as the daisies, have started to curl up and die. The blackness on the daisies is from the iron, which is the moss killer. Iron burns broadleaf leaves, weeds, but it's also the weed killer, which is MCPA and Mecoprop, which are doing a longer term kill off of the weeds. The moss burns the weeds and makes them shrivel a little bit, and the weed killer for broadleaf weeds, the selective weed killer, will kill them off, I suppose, hopefully for good. Certainly 90% of them. Some of the weeds might survive depending on how well we applied it. So walking along here, you can see some kind of grey patches. Some of it's to do with grass that I cut. I cut the grass yesterday, but most of it is to do with the weeds shriveling. And as these weeds die and shrivel away, the grass will be fed and that will take its place and it will fill in and get thicker all the way through this area. And it'll look a lot better. And we'll probably have a look again towards the end of the week. You can see that the putting green has come on a lot. The grass is really looking way better for a couple of reasons. I suppose it's the time of year. It's going to look good in April, towards the end of April, after all the work we did with all the top dressing and various feeding earlier on in the year. But I did also give it a feed of weed feed and moss killer, the same as I have used up on the football pitch. That's Renovator Pro. And I'm competing here with the birds because the birds are so loud. I hope you can hear me. But what I did then was I cut the grass at almost the lowest point on one of the red rotary lawnmowers. And now I'm about to cut it with the cylinder mower and see how it goes. But I'm going to raise the cylinder mower height up as much as I can. And I'm going to keep on trying to improve this putting green as much as I possibly can. So there it is, cut with the cylinder mower. I will send a picture, or should I say I will do a video of me cutting it at some stage. But today I just wanted to get it into kind of cylinder mower condition. And that's it, looking quite good. The whole area looking quite good. Doesn't really show as well in the sunshine as it actually does on site, but I think you can appreciate it to an extent. I'm just giving the putting green of water after I applied the weed feed and moss killer, because it'll be a bit more effective when there's some moisture in the ground, at fertilizing the grass, at I suppose killing the weeds as well, because if the weeds are growing in moisture retentive ground rather than dry ground, that grow a little bit more quickly, and as a result, unfortunately for the weeds, the weed killer will be more The putting green gets quite dry at this time of year, particularly because of our lovely black pines. The roots are spreading all the way across the middle of the putting green, and quite a lot of it, I suppose, underneath the bunker and out into the middle of the putting green. So if I don't water it soon, it'll be under a lot of stress because of the tight cutting I'm doing. So that's why I'm giving it a water. It doesn't need to be absolutely soaked, but it at least needs to have moisture in the top.